right, guys, it's time for more Legacy. It's time to work a little bit more on Dimir Reanimator to get it up to speed with the current trends in the format. So let's have a look at this. We have the same core as always. I like the 3 Wastelands. I like 16 colored sources with a couple of surveils. You can play your fetches like you want, whether you want it to look like the previous deck you played that wasn't Reanimator, whether you want to, play Flooded Strand to have a little more bluff equity on turn 1. Whatever, that's not too important here. I do like splitting them 4 deltas, 2 blue, 2 black. This pile is incredibly stock. All the cantrips, full set of Tameo, Entomb Reanimate, and then 4 copies of Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize continues to be my favorite play turn 1 out of this deck. The information, crafting a game plan, picking apart the opponent's plane, clearing the way. Amazing. 3 days is my favorite number. Forces quite obvious. 1 single copy of Animated in the main deck, more on that later. A couple of Brazens and 3 Murktides along with 2 Fatties. And then in the flex slots, I've played a lot of cards in these flex slots before. I've played Orcish Bowmasters when the format had more like Ponder Mirrors. I've played Cling to Dust when I was gunning hard for, actual Reanimator. And now I think the idea of Force Negation is quite solid. So with the uptick of Chalice of the Void and various combo decks, I think Force Negation is super solid, and it's even solid game 1 against a mirror match where you can let Entomb resolve and fight over Reanimate, hopefully, stop them there, and then try and reanimate their creature for the win. So I think between it just being a force card, uptick in Chalice, pitches to your other forces, I think the card's reasonable. So that's the card I'm most excited to showcase today. 3 copies of Murktide, that's the best standalone plan B. Sometimes all you have to do is cast, like, I don't know, Thoughtseize, Daze, Force of Will, slam a 6/6, wasteland the opponent, and then, the game is soon to be over. So I like that card. I will go down to 2 if the card Leyland of the Void sees more and more play. Sideboard-wise, I am answering Chalice a little bit more with the explosives. And I'm playing a 2nd copy of Animate Dead for when my life total is under pressure or my opponent has Chalice. It's kind of a solid card that just works in the deck, but when life is a liability or mana value 1 is a liability, we can play that card. Couple of consigns for the uptick of Eldrazi and Forge. Then we have some graveyard hate, some hard graveyard hate like Fairy, and some incidental like Voidwalker. Then I have a handful of removal spells and a couple of Beargoyf. I split my removal spells because I like killing walkers. I like dodging Chalice. I like killing bigger creatures with no questions asked. And I do like to natural draw a Fatty and discard it to the Bitter Triumph to set myself up to get a little bit lucky. You know how that goes. Let's play through some games and see if Reanimator still got it. All right, this is round 1. I'm playing updated Dimir Reanimator. I have also worked on a guide, so I'll make sure to link that down below. With that being said, no guide in the world is going to help you with this Zero Lander. So let's try and imagine there's also an Entomb in the mix. You can consider keeping 0 cards in some rare occasions. Oh yeah, this is quite bad. My opponent's on a multi 5 though. That helps a little bit. So I guess I keep this and get rid of Underground Sea. The biggest problem is the first mulligan is good and all, but the second mulligan, my opponent is likely some unfair strategy. Marsh Flats makes me a little bit scared, I must say. I wouldn't be surprised if I get turn 1 Gristle Branded here. Yeah, okay. That's how it goes sometimes. So we will have to recover after sideboarding. Turn 1 Gristle Branded is. With Dance of the Dead. Okay, so I guess with Dance of the Dead in the mix, then is my opponent some World Gargoyle Dragon deck? It could very well be. Here's on Mask, and this prompts the concession. So, okay. So this is annoying because my opponent could, in theory, go into, another strategy like the black-green one. I lost track of the name of that. What's the name? The Magecraft guy. Let's try and understand what this means. So I have 4 cards that are good out of my sideboard. Dance of the Dead. Is that a trigger like Animate Dead? I would guess so. So that is possible. So what does it look like if I move off of Entomb and I become a control deck, essentially? Could also just keep this package. Maybe that's better. So like these 4 cards for these 4, how does that look? And I still have 2 Entombs in my deck. I think Wasteland is probably quite bad. Maybe I'm just supposed to... Am I supposed to pre-sideboard for the Chain of Smog? Probably not. But I do think cutting 2 copies of Wasteland is very playable. Is this where I just find room for my package here? And let's see, what would I get rid of in that case? I guess like a Brazen Borrower would be fine. So, sure. So I'm basically saying I'll keep my plan A because it's highly unlikely my opponent's going to do anything about it. And yeah, I kind of trust my own deck a little bit, but I also have the mode of, you know, Voidwalker or Force of Will type of draw. Not bringing in consigns could be costly. The opponent has a ton of discard spells. Yeah, this is super strange. Too much pressure straight out of the gates here. Oh wow. Yeah, we these are good cards, but we can't keep these. These are good cards, and we can in fact keep these. So let's put back, I guess, the Murktide Regent. Yeah. And then I put myself in a position where I can force and hopefully jam Voidwalker. If I get discarded, then what? I'm hoping this is the green card. But let's see about that. This is a Thoughtseize. I think we should just let this go. I'm trying to put myself in a position where land gets me over the hump. And hopefully this is tricky for the opponent. Because, sure, they looked at my hand, right? But they also have to enable creatures by themselves here. So I think this is solid. I should be able to survive here. Ponder is not a bad draw. Let's see if we can find a land off of it. We did not find a land, but I did find... yeah, these cards are good enough for me. So Archon, Reanimate, Force, and now I have double Force, and I reanimate Voidwalker. Here's another Thoughtseize. I think this is where I should... Does that even work? Should I daze? No, I don't think I should daze. Let's try and understand this. I'm mainly scared of the situation that my opponent has the Witherbloom Apprentice. That's the name. I nailed it. So they take the Force of Will. All right, I'm going to let my opponent do this, but I'm really not sure that I should. If they take the Force here, the Witherbloom becomes very strong because that also doesn't care about the Voidwalker. Okay, what is them taking that card? What does that even mean? So let's animate a Voidwalker. Let's attack. Also, the opponent bricked on land there, so Daze is more likely to be good this game. So now the opponent needs to kill Voidwalker, then put something in the yard, then reanimate it. Cabal Therapy. I feel like I should Daze this card. My opponent pays a pedal. They don't. Okay, so I still have a Force up, and I knew about that card. So let's attack here. I have a ton of clues, but I do need a land in order to capitalize. Here's the green source. Here's Cabal Therapy. So yeah, now I'm in trouble. This resolves, and now my opponent can go Witherbloom. Okay, so maybe they delay that. There's a land, which is not bad. So now this game is just brutal because I can sack my Voidwalker. But I think maybe the play is like this. If my opponent develops the Witherbloom, then I'm priced into tracking Voidwalker and naming Chain of Smog. But yeah, this is brutal. Super brutal. Yeah, here it is, which is... Yeah, that resolves. So now I have to... Yeah, this is atrocious. And there's the Force of Will, which is funny. So let's think about this. Does that Force of Will means I should keep doing what I'm doing? Because then I can force it. Should I trust this force? I'm losing to discard spell. What if I just name... Also, it could be spoils, but my opponent would be at 6. So maybe let's crack a clue here, because in theory that could be a Thoughtseize, right? It was not a Thoughtseize, so... Okay. I think I'm willing to lose to my opponent having double Chain of Smog and drawing a land. I feel like it's too much if I start getting rid of my Voidwalker like so close to the finish line. But this is brutal stuff. Chain of Smog. So that is a card that I will Force a Will. Force a Will the Chain of Smog. Get drained. And now I'm back to losing to that card. Like the second copy. Here's Ponder. Ponder's better than a random draw. Let me cast this Ponder. Here's Brazen Borrower. Here's Brazen Borrower. So if I draw that card, I can bounce my opponent's Apprentice, get them to 4. Question is if, let's see. So I can flip my Tameo now, but that doesn't do anything, right? This is hard. I think I should just play like, let's see. The thing is this Murktide gonna matter? It could matter. Okay. So wait a minute. So what I could do now is bounce the Witherbloom, Voidwalker the Witherbloom, but then I could just lose to the graveyard. I don't think that makes any sense. I think I want to draw the Brazen, but I have to figure out between Entomb and Murktide. So I have a land here. Let's land number 4. Get in there. Attack. The opponent casts that card. I bounce it. Because the reason to wait is they kind of have to extend the Chain of Smog. Also, did I mess up? Let me see here. Chain of Smog. Yeah, I messed up. I forced the first one. I could have gotten my opponent to deplete their hand here. Oh boy, I messed up. So if you're in this situation, you should let it resolve here, let them clear their hand, and then, win the game. Yeah, that was atrocious. Okay, so I made this game exciting. So now let's see. Attack them out of 4. They cast that card. They go to 5. I bounce it. Then they need a third one. In that case, I'm not sure the Murktide is doing anything. So maybe I just go like this. I'm really not sure. I think this is too hard. So I don't think the damage from the Witherbloom matters yet. My opponent knows that I kept these cards, which is very good info for the opponent. So here comes the Witherbloom. My opponent's at 4. If they were at 3, I feel like I should just bounce that card. But they're not. 4 life to work with. You need to cast 3 spells to change the clock. And they can't. So let's see here. I feel like I should just play this Borrower that's lethal. Okay, they have something. They have a Bowmaster. Wow. That is now complicating things. Let's see. What does my opponent have another chain and didn't go for it? My next card is Entomb. Did my opponent have a chain and didn't go for it? And I really don't believe that. So let's cast this Murktide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess I stay back with the Tamiyo, attack my opponent to 1, and I accept that I die to the chain. Like, very well played by my opponent. If they sniffed out the Brazen that turn, I would be very impressed. So my opponent did board into this package, which they did a good job here. Didn't show green game 1. I had to concede against the Unmask. And now, who the hell knows, right? But now I feel like I have to play these Fatal Pushes. I even won with my Singleton Brazen. That's very funny. I probably have to cut Brazen and Dazes, some combination of that. But now the cat's out of the bag with regards to my plan. So maybe this is where I just trim my combo package, like -2, minus Archon. 3 pushes, that's pretty good. Do I just... No, I need to remove a card, not add a card. I'm confused there for a second. So let's see. Like all of these cards a decent amount. It's 27 blue cards, it's a lot. So I probably just cut a single copy of Daze on the draw. What is that? Why is that bad? It's bad if my opponent boards into like show and tell or whatever, but I think I'm still okay between all my discard. I could also cut a copy of Reanimate. How often is my opponent going to put stuff in the yard? Okay, I think I talked myself into having a blue card instead of Reanimate number 4. I do have double Fairy here if my opponent goes back. Okay, I think I like this. But you can open a lot of hands against that deck where you're just at the mercy of what they're going to do, right? Okay, so this hand is very bad against dying turn 1. And this hand is serviceable if we get to play the game. Let's imagine turn 1 Thoughtseize from the side of my opponent. They take like a cantrip or whatever. What do I do? Probably play a Tamiyo. So I'm bad against losing turn 1, like game 1, essentially. My hand is essentially targeting you know, discard spell draws. I think that's okay. It's like half of their draws. So let's see. It's always tough to press the mulligan button. It's always tough to not do it. So let's see how my opponent capitalizes here. Now we kind of have the situation I wanted, except, you know, with oh my god. That is insane, because my opponent this is just a cool dynamic. So obviously it worked out here. So let's try and cover both angles. I have what looks like a you know, questionable keep on surface, but reality is a lot of the time their draw will just be like therapy on mask, you know, stuff like that, right? And then if I just, you know, get not drawn on with like turn 1 on mask, turn 2 kill or whatever, like mulliganing is not the solution either, right? So that was just pretty lucky. And then of course, me drawing Force of Will there is like the most lucky thing ever. Also, we learned about Bowmasters. Let's see. Here's Entomb, and that is a card I should Force a Will, and I should pitch the Murktide Regent. So my opponent could have resolved that card if they wanted. Why didn't they want to do that? Trying to understand that. So now I can get Bowmastered, but my opponent picked Brainstorm. Okay, I guess I'll force them to have the Bowmaster. They don't have the Bowmaster. So you can argue this Reanimate is like a dead card. So maybe we get rid of that in a land. Base looks solid here. Okay, my opponent's seen enough. Yeah, we got a little bit lucky here, but I think we also exposed ourselves to get lucky, if that makes sense. Like, it was very calculated. What's my opponent's range? Does mulliganing help, like, on average? And then, of course, looking like geniuses with the force. So, yeah, pretty not smooth sailing, but, like, very high pressure, like, die turn 1, and then after threading, have to come up with solution and thread the needle for 2 games. That's pretty awesome, right? All right, let's see if we can keep it up with some interesting stuff. That's what we want to see after all. All right, guys, allow me to interrupt the video briefly here. Thanks so much for the space. I just want to talk about my newest initiative here. So obviously, I want to be the place to be. My Metafy should be the place to be if you care the slightest about Eternal Magic. So I'm trying to do my absolute best, delivering the good stuff to you guys week in and week out. So look at this. The next coming months, I will be hosting guest primers from the absolute experts of all the archetypes that I could think about when it comes to Legacy. First one, JPA on Sneak Attack. Incredible. Next up, not necessarily this order, Jujubin on Delver, double Eternal Weekend champion. Sprouts on Lands, multiple challenge winner. Futurism on 12 Post. He's played the deck for years, works on this deck weekly. Tony Scapone on Storm, Mr. Combo. Newton, straight from the cradle. He will be talking about his favorite black-green cradle deck, all the updates. This is the place to be. Larson, Eternal Weekend champion, European Legacy Masters champion, Showcase champion, Mr. Breakfast. That will be a banger, probably the one I'm looking forward to the most personally. We'll have Morsa on Energy. He put energy strategies on the map in Legacy, and he'll share all his insights. And then we have Harain on Dreadnought, Mr. Dreadnought. I'm too excited for this one. I don't know what to tell you guys. This is me trying to promote being a book-smart baron. This is a $15 subscription that will give you access to all content, all my tournaments. You will have access to my community, all of these premium articles, everything that I'm putting out in the future, everything from the past. It's just going to be one click away with that subscription. So highly recommend. Next up, we have Ecoternal Weekend coming up. Ecoternal Weekend, that's also a fun name. But what is it aside from that? It's going to be an Eternal Weekend warm-up tournament. 2 of those, make that 2 of those. We're going to be having Kai Sawatarix making a customized painting for the winner. Let's say you win with your favorite deck. You can tell him, yeah, I want it like this, like that. And he will execute your ideas. So these are going to be the details. September 6th is going to be the Legacy version. September 20th is going to be the Vintage one. It's going to be a Swiss tournament in one go, and you can check out the rest of the price structure here. I can't wait to see you over there. If you want to save a little bit on your first month, you can use code ECO50. It would mean a lot to me to see you over there. I'll invite you to the Discord, and hopefully it's going to be the best early Christmas gift you give to yourself this year. Thanks so much for the space. Let's get back to the video. All right, here we are. Round 2, Dimir, Reanimator, updated with Force Negation. And this hand is interesting, right? This could be anything. So if we're playing against a combo deck, we like our situation. We're just 1 Entomb away from winning. If our opponent, if we force a good creature, we can reanimate. If we surveil like champs. I'm sorry about that, guys. Okay, so this hand basically has enough potential for me to keep it. We can also just get totally ridiculed here. Lose our only land to a wasteland on turn 2, and the game's over. As we saw in game 1, sometimes Magic is very polarized. Like, you either win or lose at the drop of a hat. So decisions like this, just understanding when they work out and when they don't, I think you'll be fine. Let's find an Entomb. Surveil land is like demonic, like Vampiric Tutor, right? Okay, so this is interesting. I don't think this is good enough, especially because if we brick and I want to reanimate, I can just, do that, right? Let's get rid of that card and draw a Ponder. That's going to be my play. Getting my second land here would be awesome. Okay, so here are some good cards. So let me draw. This is the 3rd card. If I then force. The thing is, am I even brainstorming next turn? Yeah, I think I am. So let's see. 3rd card. So if I force twice, I can slam Merc. Against which decks do I force twice here? I do that against, I guess, yeah, Sneak and Show is the big one. Storm variants. Cutter, Beanstalk, those kind of like awesome turn 2 plays. So let's see. I think I'm reanimating this Tamiyo. Maybe I should just draw the Brainstorm in case I... Oh, wait a minute. What if I force Daze, for example? Then what? 3 cards. Reanimate 3 cards. Daze 4 cards. Force 5 cards. Okay, I talked myself into that if there's some kind of exchange here, Murktide is going to be better. Let's imagine our opponent forces here, or like something along those lines. So let's see. If absolutely nothing happens, then I draw the Murktide that is uncastable. I think that sounds like a reasonable hedge. With that being said, who the hell knows if my opponent is like control, or they're trying to kill us now. The dream is that they, start getting some stock ups, dazed or whatever. Let's see if we're living in that world. Okay, Esper. Dark Ritual. I'm going to let that resolve. Doomsday. All right. So this is kind of what we wanted, I guess. Let's force to negate that Doomsday with the intention of forcing one more time. Scrubland means Source to Plowshares. Let's try to understand what this is. Yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good. So if my opponent does not force back, I guess that's just a good scenario overall for me. But then I can't Murktide is the point. Okay. So I get to stick a Tamiyo here that I could have flipped as well. I don't know. I feel like I played this, fine, but let's see about that. Since I know my top card, I'm not going to bother tapping out for a Clue Crack. I think it's more likely that I get dazed on this turn than Bowmastered. Let's see if I'm right about that. My opponent now needs like a second barrel while I'm trying to build my own Howling Mine here. I'm really not, but this card is all goody. The opponent's only going to see 2 new cards with that one. Put 2 back. Also, Wasteland is going to be awesome for me, which is just a good place to be in general. Because then at that point, if both lands and spells are good, it's just generally a good place to be. And even if this Tamiyo gets plowed, I feel like I'll just be up one card, play a Murktide, and that has a higher chance of living. The thing to understand is that we are kind of similar in, I'm trying to resolve, in Tomb Reanimate, they're trying to resolve Dark Ritual Doomsday. But everything that we do outside of that, our deck is not very good at backing up, essentially. Like, they're not a good plow deck. I'm not a good Fatal Push deck, that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so they've been over that card. So I expect this Tamiyo to be gone after I crack this clue. Let's see if I'm right about that. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, I think now it's too late for the opponent to plow it, so let's keep this up. Also, let's try and understand why our opponent milled over Dark Ritual. So they might have lands. I feel like with Thoughtseize and Entomb in my deck, now is a good time to brainstorm. Let's see what we can hit here. Reanimate is a bad draw. Yeah, that is atrociously bad. So let's go just maybe guess I'm slamming a Murktide right now, and the second one is too far out. That's probably true, so that's going to be my force fodder. So what do I want to draw next turn? It's probably this Brazen Borrower. I'm trying to gauge if I can do something sneaky here, hiding a force on top, but I think I'm just winning too slowly if that's my move. Let's try and understand that. If I put Force of Will on top of my deck, I don't develop the Murktide, then I'm good against getting Thoughtseized, but I'm winning slowly. Good against getting Thoughtseized, but I actually don't think I'm getting Thoughtseized, though. Could be wrong. Okay, let me put back this flip plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play Murktide Regent. Pass. So I'm a little bit scared about this turn, but I think it's a little bit too big brain to put the force back on top there. With no clock. You can argue Tamiyo's a clock, right? This is fine. And then again, if my opponent's mana base was triple black already, then the fourth land, the Thoughtseize, the Doomsday, like, was more realistic. But with them milling over a ritual, they have Island in play. I think this is the right play. And now I have to understand if I am gonna fight over a plow or not. I feel like I am. Let's see if I do that. Now I can daze a One Ring, or do, I guess. Let's see here. Here comes Teferi with 1 mana. I'm going to try this out. Let's see if that works out for me. Force blue card is very strong. Okay. So now I can go get that force back, and it's an attack for 8. I draw my Brace in here. I knew about that one. So let's get that back. Grow the Merc. Attack. And that is, funnily enough, going to be relevant if my opponent is on more setup, because 12 minus 8 is 4, and then I get my opponent to 1 with the Brace and attack. And if they're at 1, they can't Doomsday. Let's see. Personal Tutor. I don't see a problem with that. I want my opponent to spend that time, A card like Plow gets my opponent through to the next turn. Okay. My opponent's trying to win now through known Force of Will. I'm scared, I must say. Doomsday. I should let this resolve, I think. Doomsday. If I... No, maybe not. If my opponent has Force Blue card, they can't move on, right? So this Daze is probably live. You tutor for that card. If I stop this Doomsday, pitching Brazen Borrower, I attack my opponent down to 2 next turn, which is technically not winning the game. I just think this Daze is gonna counter like a Veil or something. Magic is a hard game. Let's counter the Doomsday, holding up the Daze, playing around Veil. I guess playing around Plow as well. So now, if I crack the clue, my opponent will Plow. Is that how it works? Let's see. No, that's not how it works. Here's Wasteland. Plus, you can reanimate Street Wraith, which is kind of funny. So I guess let's Wasteland the white source. Put a Street Wraith into play. This makes sure I beat Plow. This is a super weird game. So at least now I'm good against Naked One Ring. If my opponent Doomsdays, how do they get into the pile? I don't know. I think I cut my opponent off here. Okay, so they probably slow roll this Ponder. Yeah, how do they even win if that Doomsday resolves? How do they even win? I'm not sure. I think I'm winning this game, but let's see. Consider. You got it. I guess they're on... Yeah, Plow's not even enough. Never mind. Yes. You're a 2. Here's the Thoughtseize. All right. Onan, you got the info. Doomsday with Teferi. Consider. Consider was a good one to see. Okay. Let's try and think hard about how to approach this. I feel like I could add a couple of Bitter Triumphs. I don't think that's insane. If I add 2 Bitter Triumphs, what do I do then? A Million Petals. I think I can cut the second Surveil here. And then I need to cut one more card that could easily be Animate Dead, and I try and go for it. They also showed Street Wraith, which just turns on, reanimates in a Delver fashion, essentially. And Sign to Memory is a card that is sometimes annoying for them, sometimes does absolutely nothing. This is basically me saying I'm hedging against the creature plan. But maybe me having Entomb Reanimate in my deck is my hedge against the creature plan. Why is Magic so hard? But I guess they also showed Teferi. Okay, this will be fine. Magic is super hard. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. It's a lot of me trying to speak out loud all the factors that I register, essentially, and then hopefully come up with reasonable plays. All right, can't keep this. 1 land instead of any of these cards would have made it a keep. Oh, I forgot this clue. I forgot that I saw Personal Tutor in my opponent's deck. Okay. That could be what costs me. So I have to get rid of Wasteland or Rainstorm, essentially. Probably get rid of Wasteland. Let's see if I'm right about that. Yeah, Personal Tutor makes my opponent less likely to have a creature plan. And with that being said, there's a Tamiyo, which is just always a good card. Let's see. Draw basic Swamp. So let's think about that. Feel like I should still fetch. Fetch C, cast Thoughtseize? Yeah, let's do that. Let's see what the opponent's working with. I get dazed, sure. Okay, so they're a Dazed to Fairy, Mini Petals, personal tutor deck with Tamios in it. Let's see if they can mill over a creature for me. Okay, so my opponent has Basic Island and 3 unknowns in hand. Here's Murktide Region, which is decent. Maybe I just cast Brainstorm and check my options. Some good ones here. Unfortunately, these lands are telling me I can't cast a Murktide. So right now, Reanimate is probably bad, but you know, could easily come up. What if I put back Brainstorm Wasteland? Maybe I'm supposed to put back Brainstorm Reanimate so I don't lose Reanimate. Let's say they have something like a Baragorf or Sheldred here, and I get Thoughtseized. That's probably good. I'm hiding that card. Brainstorm all the way down. Intentions to pitch Murktide if necessary. Yeah, I could easily lose to this Tameo. That's just a good plan B. Riddler. So let's see how this works. This makes Reanimate a great card, so take the Riddler. Note that they have Daze in hand, which makes Fortune Negation this turn irrelevant. But next turn I can, let's see, I can reanimate the Riddler and Wasteland my opponent out of wait, probably. Maybe we should just do that right away. Do like this. Wasteland. The opponent would have to crack the clue now. Let's change the phase. Reanimate Quantum Riddler. Go to 12, draw a card. The opponent would, yep. I was about to say the opponent would have needed to draw exactly Force of Will. So that's a very good fatty. It stops the Tameo. And now it kind of forces my opponent to become a creature deck, I guess. Okay, Nihil Spellbomb I think is acceptable. Let's see if that holds true. Yeah, that's all goody. They would probably have to crack it now. Okay, they don't. Is this where I end step Brainstorm and I get dazed? I don't think that's a good move. I don't know. This is a close call. I feel like I'm just getting dazed here and it's like an auto play. Oh, wow. Let's see if my opponent lets me play. Put back that card, put back that card. Draw. Yeah, I mean, they let me do it, so I'm gonna slam the Murktide here and kind of punish them. Yep. Murktide Regent around Daze. Yeah, that's not what you want out of the opponent, but yeah, it was just... I feel like this Swamp just really disguised my ability to cast this Murktide. But my opponent not dazing and not cracking Spellbomb, that's pretty lucky for me. If I get double dazed here, it is what it is. Okay, I get double dazed, so they don't lose that card. And now I have to consider Am I scared of that clue, those clues, or do I think I can close out the game? I'm actually going to try and close out the game while my opponent is kind of sitting there and recovering. Milling over Force of Will. They might have another. They might not have the, let's say, luxury to go for that. I knew about that Archon. I guess we cast this card. So let's see. I think these are just very solid. Let's cast this Brainstorm. Let's get rid of Archon and land. Yep. Let's attack. Keep attacking. I think that's the way to do it. Let's see if I'm right about that. So now, end of turn, I can put a Trax on my graveyard and surveil afterwards. I think I have a surveil land left in the deck. Yeah, I boarded that one. Okay, so now my opponent can plow, and I'm actually fighting here. So, yeah, let me fight over this. May or may not be right based on my opponent being a Ritual Doomsday deck, but I just don't have them on, you know, the combo right now. Let's see if that checks out. Opponent's at 12, I'm at 12. Here's Entomb for Atraxa. Here's Surveilling. See if I can find something that furthers my game plan. I can get rid of that card. And draw? Wait a minute. So if I get to... As long as I have one or fewer cards... Oh, shoot. So if I deplete my hand, I'm drawing more cards from Riddler? That's cool. I thought it was... These are usually like... Accept your draw step. That type of deal. As long as you have one fewer cards in your hand. If you would draw a card, so that would be now. But now to draw, you know... Now it's a plus... Like, now it's an arena, which is pretty insane. Let's see. My opponent wants to go to 4. Also, let's think about the fact that they tapped Scrubland instead of the other one. So now Riddler draws 2 cards again. That seems super strong. So let's think. This has no fetchables left. That's funny. So I think the way to do this is attack my opponent down to 4. Then if they flip to Tamiyo, I can put them to 1. I'm in the market for Force of Willing a lot of stuff here because it's like having a beanstalk in play, essentially. That means I draw an extra card on the next draw step. What do you think happens if I Force of Will this card? I think their hand is very bad. I will try and counter that spell. So now the hope is my opponent has to stay back and jump block with me drawing 2 cards. A game I can still lose, right? My opponent has... My opponent can still win this game, right? After, you know, after jump blocking. But I mean, I like the way I played this. Let's see. I think playing this out is fine, even though I know it doesn't do anything. So now I'm forcing the chum block. And I have a Force of Will, so my opponent needs to kind of win with Force backup. That kind of deal. Dark Ritual is fine. So what does that mean? Why are we ritualing here? Because we have Doomsday and something, or we have Riddler and something. I don't think either of those are a reason to counter the ritual. Let's see if this is Doomsday or this is Okay, this is like Desperado mode. I'm not sure about my opponent tapping this Scrubland, I must say. I'm really not a big fan of that when part of your out is getting Source of Plowshares. So now my opponent's gonna Thoughtseize me. I want to get them to 2 life here, right? So let's just see what this is. This could be Murktide Regent. That's a card that would stabilize. Okay. Okay, so this is like super Desperado mode. I guess Plowing here is stabilizing card. That, to be fair, no Plow. Never mind. Yeah, I'm not quite sure about if the opponent played optimally here or not, but it was pretty cool to see that getting like close to Hellbent was rewarded. I had no idea. So in theory, I could end up in a spot where with like 2 cards and I should upkeep this Entomb, right? So that on my draw step I draw an additional card. Okay, that was pretty cool. These learning moments in real time are always super exciting. So let's see if we can have a little bit more of that in the last match. All right, a little bit more Magic to be played. Last round of today's video. Dimir Reanimator. If you like what you see, go and grab the guide over on Metafy, freshly updated. All the guest contents, all the free tournaments, all the giveaways, all the good stuff over there. If you're into Legacy, it's the place to be. No doubt about that. Let me keep this hand of turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Thoughtseize, Force built to Murktide hand. This is a really strong hand against a ton of decks. I guess my mana base had a little bit of a weak point between mono duels and tap lands. But getting to Thoughtseize your opponent twice is a treat. Being on the draw, then, you know, it would still be awesome because I had the Force of Will. So just a good hand from start to finish. Let's see. Thoughtseize. Okay, we're playing the mirror match. That's cool. So let's see. We could get wasted, but that's, you know, how the game goes. If my opponent goes Entomb, am I happy or sad about that? That's the thing. So now I can choose to get into a... I should probably just take this card, to be honest. I'll just take that card. I think this is good. Because that's the answer to Murktide. And now I just accept that I'm forcing Entomb. Wasteland gone. Let's see if I can find a land here. That's not a land, so I'm going to bin it because, you know, I just drew another Ponder. Verdant Catacombs. Pass. Cameo. This card's gone, by the way. I should probably... Wait a minute. What happens if I Thoughtseize here? Does my opponent Entomb in response? Probably do. Maybe that's why it's a bad timing. Let's ponder. I find a Reanimate. Magic the Gathering is a hard game. Because this Reanimate is kind of bad unless the Entomb resolves. But if the Entomb resolves, I'm getting double Reanimated, so we can't let that happen. So I think I'm supposed to just grab the land here, to be honest. All right. So I go like this. Play Cameo, I believe. No, maybe it's not Tameo. Maybe it's actually... Okay, let's do this. Let's cast another Thoughtseize. Let's Force a Will, pitch Tameo. And I'm in trouble if my opponent has found Force blue card or Daze. I think we accept that proposition. Counter. Thoughtseize, revealing these cards. Oh, another Entomb. That is nasty, but we have that covered. So now I go Pick this Entomb. And then I have my own Murktide, and I can bounce their Murktide. So Reanimator there. Blooded Strand is there. That card's gone. So these 3 and 1 unknown. Again, if my opponent's drawn a daze, I'm in trouble. Murktide Regent it is. Slamming my own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as big as possible. Don't daze me, bro. Pass. So now I've gotten rid of 2 borrowers, I believe. Maybe not. Wait a minute. Did I misclick? Okay, I guess I just misplanned here. Okay, I lost track of this game. Because my force... Wait a minute. I have no idea. Okay, so I lost track of this game. I thought I had this covered. That's kind of cool. I think I still had to do this, but this is embarrassing. Okay. I'm at 9, and I draw another borrower, which is very funny. So let's bounce this 5/5. My opponent can now cast Brazen Borrower. Okay, they drew Thoughtseize. That's good. So now if the opponent wants to, they can reanimate Murktide. Is that good? I don't think so. Then I can just bounce it back to my hand. They should take Brazen Borrower here. Well, then I just Thoughtseize the Murktide. Okay, this is complicated. I'm not gonna... I played too much Magic today to have a solid opinion here. Okay. And now they want the 3/1. Okay, that's a good play. Because that is actually punishing me for... Thoughtseizing. Okay, let's count. This must be fine. So keep that. Thoughtseize go to 7. Take the Murktide. Pass. My opponent has access to 3/1 flyer. Let's see what they found here. They just play this Brazen, I would bet. All right. So here's a Ponder. If I play this, they trade. Then I have 4 cards in the yard. If they reanimate, I'm dead. I think I have to ponder into an untapped land. That's an untapped land, so I go like this. Play Brazen. This card is gone. They have a reanimated 1 unknown. Trade off. I'm at 1. And then I play Murktide and Tamiyo. Yeah, I totally lost track of this game back with the Brazen. I guess the second Entomb threw me off. And the fact that Force was already getting cast at that point. I think that was the biggest one. They'll lose to almost any card here. Let's see if the opponent can get lucky. They mill over the Tamiyo with the intention to reanimate it, which is kind of cool. Or maybe they should just reanimate like a 3/1. Ooh, they found the perfects. Okay. Yeah, that is a problem. Because now I'm going to draw Tamiyo and I have to chum block. Survive at 1, chum block. Okay. Nice play by the opponent and less nice play by me, unfortunately. All right, the mirror match. Let's see if this plan can do it. I have 12 cards that I like. Let's see if I can find 12 cards that I dislike. I don't think that should be a problem. 9, 12. You can argue a single daze is fine and I cut a reanimate. Maybe. So a board like this, my whole combo, my situational counters, and some reanimation spells. And then I bring in... I shouldn't bring that card in. So I guess, which card did I trim? So I can keep Second Days. Maybe that's fine on the play. So I get in all my Graveyard Hate. Fair Macabre essentially being 0 mana counter Reanimate. All of my removal spells and then a couple more threats. And then we play a mid-range game. All right. All right. Yeah, this hand is a keep. It's an annoying one, but it's a keep. It has Voidwalker if I find a, fetch or Underground Sea. It has Force Blue card in case of emergency. It can kill turn 1 Tameo. Turn 1 Thoughtseize is annoying, but I'm going to let it happen. I don't like Force Willing in those spots. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff here where I lose to some Entomb, Reanimate, Bananas draws, but then there's a lot of... And I'll probably also lose if I don't find lands right. And then there's the games where we both just draw like mid-rangey and I get into the game with some lands. I like my chances in those games. Let's see if it holds true. Voidwalker gone. My opponent doesn't want me to draw land. And then slam the Voidwalker. Okay, drawing this card and wasting is not free, but I'm gonna do it here. Mainly because this card casts Spirit of Triumph and Baragoyf. Here's Tameo. Here's Fatal Push. Here's Daze. Yeah, this is a good spot for the opponent. So now, if I draw land, I'm going to be very sad if I force. If I don't draw land, I'm going to be very happy. So I'm going to force a will here. I don't love it. I think my opponent, this is exactly what my opponent wants. Basically exhaust my resources like this. Maybe considering forcing back, who knows? The card Reanimate would be decent here. Land is not bad either. Now, I wish I didn't force, but that's how it goes. One land off Baragoyf. Here's Ponder. So, all my blue spells are bad draws. All lands are good draws. Thoughtseize, Reanimate. Lots of solid stuff. I think my opponent is slightly ahead here. Let's see if I can get a good one. Probably need a couple of good ones in a row. They keep the cards. Let's see what I can draw here. Yeah, very bad. All right. My opponent has good cards, or they would have shuffled. Here's Nile Spellbomb. Card that's not that great right now. Land would be incredible. This is very bad. So now I have to consider... Yeah, I don't think I should consider much of anything. I think I should blow this land up and hope that we're still playing this game in 5 turns, and I've somehow drawn better than my opponent in the meantime. Yeah, they have to pop that card. So, I will say this. My opponent could easily have a land here, and then they just played very well, with the Wasteland showing weakness, getting me to pop my Wasteland. That's just a very good play for my opponent. It doesn't look good for the home team. Keeping a card on top, keeping the Ponder, keeping the card here. It's just, I'm in big trouble. So here's a Baragoyf that I'll force pitch. Probably this Brazen. No, I think Murktide is too big of an issue moving forward. So if I draw a land, I guess I want to ponder into the next land. That's kind of how I win. Okay. Fair enough. Let's see if we can find Reanimate. Let's go basic island. Look for Reanimate. Even though that's kind of bad against Raise and Borrower. Okay, I find Fairy here, so now I'm basically saying I hope you have Reanimate as an action card. Which was not the case. I feel like I have to let this resolve. Also, my opponent doesn't know about the Bitter Triumph on top of my deck. Okay, so this is pretty clear. This is my opponent trying to clear the way for Murktide. So this is decent for me. Do I cast this Brainstorm or do I delay it? I actually think I delay it because I have the Bitter Triumph next turn. Yeah, this is gonna be, if I'm winning this game, is gonna be a long one. Oh shoot. No Merc, but that card. Okay. Yeah, same logic. Let me Bitter Triumph A3. Probably just lose on the spot to Deja Force. That's how it goes. Let's see it, opponent. They already know I would have dazed if I had it. Okay, so that's gonna do it. Good games. Yeah, we got utterly destroyed here. I think I could have played a little bit better game one. And this game, things just didn't work out right. The opponent played well, connected with some dazes, had a bit more stable mana than I did for a long time. And yeah, sometimes you get destroyed, and the opponent draws more Baraglyphs than you draw answers, and you're left with yours on turn 9 in hand, just being uncastable. That's how it goes. So we have to take the good with the bad here on the channel. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today. We reached the end of the video. I had a lot of fun playing Blue-Black Reanimator. I think this deck has a ton of play to it. You can tweak it every week based on the metagame, based to your liking. And then even when you open the hands and you resolve the cantrips, multiple avenues to go down. In this game, I don't think it's unreasonable if I hang on to these wastelands and decide to play my spells instead of trying to hamper my opponent's development. And I think my lines were also reasonable, that I was trying to buy time walks and get into the game super long term. But hey, who knows? Legacy is a turn 2 format after all, so you have to be quick with your decisions. That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much for watching. As always, it's a treat to play Legacy on the channel. Let me know if you like it. And yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other back here soon. Bye, guys.